Thank you, Stephen. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really honored to be reading this incredible lineup tonight. Amazing. And what a beautiful crowd. I love LA, but I had to have like strippers and cupcakes and all kinds of things at my book party in LA to get a big crowd. So this is beautiful. So what he said, this is a coming-of-age story about 18 months I spent in the harem of the Prince of Brunei, and I'm going to read a little bit for you. I went on a business trip with the Prince to Malaysia, and whenever a guard knocked for me in the middle of the day, I knew I was in for a surprise. So this is what happened on one particular day. The guard knocked in the middle of the day and informed me I was to dress in an evening gown. Previously, on the Malaysia trip, Robin had called for me, Robin is the prince, only at night, so it seemed strange. When we got to the elevator, the guard pushed the button for the roof. My chest tightened with panic. I knew too much, and they were getting rid of me. There was nothing I could do. I was trapped. I was like that guy in the gangster movie who knows he's about to get whacked for some infraction, yet has no choice but to get in the car with his soon-to-be killer. I imagined the headlines. Despairing spurned mistress throws herself off a Malaysian rooftop. American prostitute dies in a drug deal gone wrong at the Kuala Lumpur Hilton. Jersey teen disappears while on holiday in Southeast Asia. At least I die in an evening gown. But no one pitched me off the roof. Instead, I found a helicopter waiting for me on the helipad, kicking up a crazy wind. It was the first time I had been in a helicopter, and the headphones the pilot handed me wrecked my by then perfected 5-minute updo. I imagine I looked like a Hitchcock heroine after having been chased over a foam studio mountain while the industrial fans blew my evening gown into a twist. The ride seemed laughably short, barely a Spider-Man hop from one roof to another, but looking down on the gridlocked traffic creeping through the streets of KL, I was sure that what was a 3-minute flight would have been a 3-hour drive. That helicopter flight, the drives to and from the airport, and the view from my hotel room window were all I would see of KL. I never smelled the food smells blown out the back of the restaurants, never tried to buy a scarf from a street vendor, never ordered my own cup of tea, never even put my shoe to the Malaysian pavement except to walk from the hotel to the car, and that only twice. I had been to Malaysia, but I hadn't. I had been to the island of Borneo, but not really. I was greeted at the helipad by 2 mirrored sunglass-wearing guards who ushered me into the door of yet another hotel suite. This one stretched on forever. I began to fix my hair, taking my time to look around and prepare for yet another marathon wait. I turned around, and on the love seat at the far end of the room sat the Sultan. I jumped and nearly screamed from the shock of finding myself not alone. "How do you like my country?" he asked, patting the seat next to him. Robin had asked me the same question. Of course, we weren't exactly in his country at that particular minute, but I knew what the Sultan meant. The world was his oyster, everywhere was his country, and not in a John Lennon kind of way. He seemed a football field away. In front of him on the coffee table was a delicate bone china tea set etched in gold. The Sultan asked me to call him Martin as I sat next to him. His real name was like 5 pages long. As I sat next to him, talking to Martin was easier than talking to Robin. He was gracious and almost breezy, his smiling face much less imposing than the stern countenance on the money and the billboards. We finished 1 cup and even half of another before retiring to the bedroom. The suite where I met the Sultan of Brunei was easily 10 times bigger than my whole house is now. The Pope himself couldn't have dreamed up a more lavish spectacle. I was being passed along, after all. But I had been in Brunei long enough to understand that it was a compliment rather than an insult. I was some sort of tribute paid, part of a system of honor and respect between the brothers. I was a gift. Just by kissing Martin, I could tell how different he was from Robin. He was less complicated, less needy, less manipulative. The difference can best be explained by the following. Robin demanded that you love him. Martin just wanted you to suck his dick. He politely requested that I do exactly that, after asking me to remove my clothes, walk back and forth, turn around, and do a little dance. Afterward, he cheerily sent me back to the helicopter with the pronouncement that his brother had good taste. I never saw the Sultan again, but after that it always amused me to look at his face on the Bruneian dollars. Angelique, the singer whom Prince Sufri loved, later told me that I shouldn't feel bad that he didn't ask me back. In fact, I should be flattered that I met him in the first place. She told me that he almost never fucked Western girls, and when he did, he never kept them. That night, Robin was eager to know if Martin had liked me. He seemed like a little boy looking for his father's approval. Robin was always famished behind the eyes. It was the kind of hunger you could never really feed, the kind that keeps you up until 5 a.m. every night, the kind that drives you to fuck girl after girl, to buy Maserati after Maserati. He looked like an alcoholic near closing time, like someone who had gotten everything he had ever wanted and despaired to discover that he still felt empty. It wasn't the first time I suspected that for all his relentless pursuit of pleasure, he actually had a hard time having fun. There aren't enough cars or girls in the world to satisfy that kind of appetite. I slept in Robin's arms and dreamed that I was the Sultan. Or not exactly the Sultan, but a man. I am a man, and I walk into the Kit Kat Club on 52nd Street, push through the curtain of thick tinsel slabs that hang in the doorway, dodge the mirrored columns and round the corner. I sit at one of the booths along the wall and buy a lap dance from a girl whose face I can't really see, but I can feel her heat. It surprises me how profoundly naked she is in my lap. In the dream, I'm awed by her softness. I think, you can buy a girl, a whole, warm, velvety girl. I never got it before. I never understood why you'd want to buy a girl until that dream. And in my dream, I was so grateful to be a man.